3 million documents, 2,000 videos, 180,000 images, give or take. A lot more information about the kinds of allegations that were made against President Trump or then businessman Trump back in the day when he knew Epstein.
The Department of Justice has returned to the center of one of the most controversial stories in recent years by announcing the gradual release of new materials related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. According to authorities, thousands of records are being released, including videos, photographs, and documents that have remained classified for a long time. The news quickly spread across social media, political programs, and major news outlets, reigniting debates about power, influence, transparency, and even possible attempts to conceal sensitive information. While the public follows each update closely, many questions remain unanswered, and the tension only increases as new details emerge throughout the day. Several victims connected to the case have stated for years that they wanted to see these files exposed to the public, arguing that the complete truth needed to come to light regardless of who might be affected by the revelations. Public pressure grew so much that Congress approved measures that paved the way for the release of some of this material, something that for a long time seemed impossible. Even with the promise of transparency, the release of the documents ended up creating a new wave of suspicion, mainly because of allegations that certain sections had been hidden or removed before official publication. The issue gained even more traction when political analysis programs began questioning whether authorities were trying to control the impact of the information.
Lots of new information about the kinds of communications that Epstein had at one time or another with Bill Gates, with Elon Musk.
Before it fully reached public opinion, as rumors and speculations arose that these files contained documents with serious allegations directly involving President Trump, including accusations of sexual abuse against a minor. Of course, all of this was speculation created on the internet, but it gained strength when Trump's own Department of Justice began censoring everything, removing pages and classifying everything as false and sensationalist, and this further fueled the rumors, as if it were an attempt at a cover-up. Political commentators claimed that some pages involving well-known names had been edited, which immediately generated accusations of possible political favoritism and attempts to avoid damage to the image of powerful figures. At the same time, government representatives stated that some of the redactions in the documents followed legal protocols for privacy, security, and victim protection. This justification, however, was not enough to appease critics, who began demanding more detailed explanations about the criteria used to conceal certain content. Amid this explosive scenario, several television programs spent hours discussing the political impact of these revelations, while journalists tried to discover what was actually contained in the materials not yet fully disclosed. With each new update, different rumors, interpretations, and theories circulated online, further increasing the air of mystery surrounding the case. Many commentators highlighted that the real shock was not only in the content of the files, but also in how the disclosure process seemed surrounded by controversy and questionable decisions. In recent interviews, analysts stated that the government needed to act with maximum transparency to avoid accusations of manipulation or political interference. Meanwhile, advocates for victims insisted that the main focus should not be partisan disputes, but rather ensuring justice and accountability for all involved, regardless of social position, wealth, or influence. The situation became even more delicate when reports emerged alleging that specific parts of the records mentioned influential people in politics and the business world. Although many of these allegations have not yet been officially confirmed, the mere fact that there were citations involving well-known figures was enough to provoke enormous public repercussions. On social media, users began to intensely debate which names might appear in the complete files, and whether there would really be information capable of completely changing the public's perception of certain authorities. Some commentators stated that the discussion was being used politically by different groups to attack adversaries and strengthen existing narratives. Others said that the release of the documents could represent a decisive moment in the fight for more transparency within federal institutions. Amid the informational chaos, the Department of Justice faced new criticism after reports emerged of failures in the protection of sensitive data present in the published documents. According to information released by media outlets, some versions of the documents were allegedly written improperly, allowing private details related to victims to be improperly viewed. This problem generated immediate outrage among lawyers, activists, and digital privacy experts. Many stated that this type of error was unacceptable in such a sensitive case, and that the accidental exposure of personal information could cause further trauma to those already affected by the events under investigation. The pressure increased even more when a federal judge decided to demand public explanations about the procedures adopted during the publication of the files. Faced with the negative repercussions, authorities quickly removed some of the material made available online and promised to review the documents before republishing them. For many observers, the situation reinforced the perception of disorganization and lack of control within the disclosure process. Meanwhile, critics began to question whether similar failures might also be occurring with other parts of the files that remained hidden from the public. The debate quickly turned into an intense political dispute. Parliamentarians demanded independent investigations to assess whether there had been irregularities in the handling of the documents, while government spokespeople denied any intention to hide relevant information. Despite official denials, opinion programs continued to raise doubts about possible conflicts of interest involving authorities responsible for releasing the material. Political analysts observed that the combination of sensitive documents, public accusations, administrative failures, and partisan disputes created a perfect environment for speculation and widespread distrust. On various news channels, commentators began to assert that the case had already gone beyond the limits of a simple criminal investigation and become a true battle for the public narrative. At the same time, family members and representatives of victims again asked for respect and caution in the face of the intense media coverage. Many emphasized that, behind the explosive headlines and political disputes, there were real people who suffered profound and lasting consequences. Victim support organizations warned of the risk of turning the case into political entertainment, forgetting the human impact of the allegations investigated over the years. Even so, public attention remained focused on possible revelations involving well-known names, fueling endless debates on television programs, podcasts, and digital platforms. Amidst all this pressure, legal experts reminded that the existence of allegations or citations in investigative documents does not automatically constitute proof of guilt. Several commentators stressed the importance of separating confirmed facts from speculations spread on social media. Even so, the extremely polarized political environment led many groups to interpret each new piece of information according to their own ideological positions. For some, any partial concealment of documents would be a clear sign of an attempt to protect influential figures. For others, the redactions would simply be part of normal legal security and privacy protection procedures. This division became evident in televised debates that quickly turned into heated confrontations between commentators and political representatives. Meanwhile, the public continued to closely follow each update released throughout the day, hoping to discover if the remaining documents would bring even more impactful revelations. The intense coverage caused the case to dominate online trends and occupy a constant space in international headlines. Some analysts even stated that the episode could generate long-term political consequences, depending on the content that would still come to light. Others believed that the avalanche of information and speculation would end up making it difficult to distinguish concrete facts from exaggerated narratives. In any case, one thing seemed clear to practically everyone involved in the debate. The release of the files rekindled a profound discussion about power, influence, transparency, and institutional accountability. The case came to symbolize, for many observers, the difficulty of guaranteeing public trust in investigations involving extremely influential people and topics of enormous repercussion. As new pages continued to be analyzed by journalists and experts, the feeling that the story was far from over also increased. Each document released seemed to open space for more questions, more debates, and new controversies. Political programs promised to continue investigating possible inconsistencies in the disclosure process, while victims' advocates insisted that the main focus remain on the search for justice and truth. At the end of the day, the prevailing feeling was one of uncertainty. Despite the enormous amount of material already released, many believed that important information was still beyond the public's reach. And it was precisely this constant doubt about what was shown, what was hidden, and why that ended up transforming the whole situation into one of the most discussed and controversial episodes in the recent political and media landscape.